Good morning. Today is Wednesday and we're continuing our look at my favorite movies. I want to share with you a little bit today about the movie Overboard. It came out in 1987 and starred Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. It was a really cute movie about Joanna Stayton, Goldie Hawn's character, who is this wealthy woman who hires Dean Proffitt, Kurt Russell's character, to do some carpentry work for her on her yacht. Now she's in a loveless marriage and just a miserable person. She is condescending toward Kurt Russell's character. She calls him a sweaty carpenter. She eventually throws his tools overboard, throws him overboard, and refuses to pay him for his work. Well, as you can imagine, he's pretty angry and he goes home all discouraged and frustrated. Her boat leaves the harbor and goes on its merry way. Well, later that night, she ends up falling overboard when she's looking for her ring. And she hits her head and gets amnesia. And she doesn't remember who she is. So on the news, Kurt Russell sees her and they're asking for anyone with information about her identity to come forward. And he realizes her husband isn't even going to come get her. He doesn't care. So he decides to take advantage of the situation and go and get Goldie Hawn, pretend she's his wife, and use her as his servant to pay him back for his tools and for the time that he spent building these closet compartments for her. So he takes her back to his home. Well, you can guess what happens. She ends up transforming into this wonderful person. She's no longer this spoiled, whiny person. She transforms over time that she spends with Dean and his family, his children. She becomes this wonderful person and she ends up loving him and his children. Of course, there's romance involved. It's a movie that I love and always they're romantic. But she ultimately ends up getting her memory back and her husband comes to get her when he's forced to by her mom, who says, you need to find her and present her to me so that I know you're taking care of her. So he goes and gets her and she goes back on the yacht with him, but she's really miserable and she realizes she'd rather be with Dean. And she's talking to one of the servants, played by Roddy McDowell. His name is Andrew. And she's asking Andrew, am I crazy? I feel so differently now. And she's changed so much that everybody's looking at her differently. And Andrew says to her, no, madam, not at all. And he tells her, you've had the rare privilege to step outside of your bonds for a spell and to look at life from a new perspective. What you choose to do with that information is entirely up to you. How cool is that? She's had this opportunity to look at her life from the outside, to see a whole different perspective, to live in a different world temporarily, and it's changed her whole way of thinking. And that is a rare opportunity. But we can make those opportunities for ourselves. Try to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see how it changes your perspective. What you choose to do with that information is entirely up to you. Have a great Wednesday.